Hey, what's up, everybody? This is the Reluctant Nabi back again. And, oh, this is going to be an update, and I know I haven't put one of these up in a minute. Alright, so it's time to break down some things that we must understand. And having spent some time, and we're talking about significant, and we're talking about in communities. Having spent some time in the communities of Brazil and Colombia, I have this to say. All right. And this is going to be kind of a comparison between the two, but these are some differences that is really significant. All right. A couple of things I would like to address, but first let me greet everybody. Havorna Hardu Gudag, Olo Oitidabain, Brothas Los, Bonjour mes amis, Kedabamani Konnichiwa, Nihao Niama, Sani Bonani, Jumbo Habaragani, Assalamu alaikum and Shalom, Kamusta Ka, Kamusta Puakayo, and Talafa Lava Soy Fua. To my brother out there in Hawaii, what's going on? What's going on? Alright, so part of what I would like to break down to you is that there is a significant difference, pros and cons, and there is a way that the government of the United States is effing up the entire world by way of the corporations that's running this scheme, that's making them trillions, but allowing them to take over other countries through the medical process. That's basically what's going on. All right? So we'll get into that and why that matters. First, I would like to remind y'all that what I'm doing here in Brazil and will be doing in Colombia, I could use your help. So if you would like to donate to the channel, my Cash App will be in the description box along with my PayPal me, which will also be in the description box, along with my emails and everything, and my TikTok. So you can kind of, on TikTok, it's easier to give you a 3-minute video to show you what I'm doing in the communities that I'm servicing. And so basically, my TikTok will also be in there along with my email address. So don't ask for my email address. Just look in the description box. All you got to do is click on the link. All right. Come on, brothers and sisters. We can do more work than that. We can look down in the description box and click on an email if we want to email for communication purposes. All right. With that said, let us get into the meat and bones of what's going on. Okay. So, I would say this. This would be my type everywhere in the world. Because y'all know I will seek out a darker melanated woman over a lighter melanated woman because they stand out to me. All right? And they stand out to me because of this, and I figured it out. It's unusual. Meaning that the majority of the world is mixing up. Right? So it's unusual to see this, so it stands out. It's the reason why that really, really dark-skinned model was able to get rich, because she was different. She stood out. Didn't make her a good person. It didn't make her smarter than everybody else. It's just that she had a feature that when you look upon it, somebody notices it. Why is this important and significant? It is important and significant because just because it's a dark-skinned woman that would get me to look and focus on her first, understand I said first, doesn't mean I would want to be with her. It's like a dude that like a woman with a big behind. He may like looking, but the trouble that comes with it may mean he don't want nothing to do with it. All right, especially if it's a single mom. And so basically, how do you escape that? The only way to escape that is to go different places, right? So y'all know I came to Brazil first. Everybody been to Mexico before. I lived in Europe before. Okay, so I lived in Europe, so I know how the Caucasians in Germany, France, Belgium, Holland, I know how they treat men, men, and they treat us well. And from what I know of Sweden and everything, they treat men well. We're talking about the women, and we're talking about the women and how the Afro man is being treated, because that's what this channel is dedicated to. Why? Because if we want to build a culture or build a family, remember, culture starts with family, and if nobody wants to start a family with you, then they don't give a F about you. There is no love. So when the BAW say, oh, I love my black men, which ones? Which ones? Because it is obvious that it isn't somebody that kept himself out of the penal system by not having a felony. Because the ones with the felonies are the ones that's producing most of the children with the BAW. We discussed that. We went over that. We put the stats up. All right? Just because they want to be lazy and try to have a disclaimer, no. All right, so the group you saw was from Palenque, San Basilio Palenque in Colombia. All right. Now, there's always been the argument back and forth between brothers, Colombia or Brazil. Because when we talk about South America and you talk about looks and features, it boils down to these two. Even though you'll find beautiful women in Mexico, all over South America, they exist. So it comes down to Colombia and Brazil. And the defining things between these places is the culture. And what I am discovering and why I would prefer the Colombian women over the Brazilian women in general is this: temporary culture of relationship versus long-term culture of relationship. Understand this: temporary culture of relationship versus long-term culture of relationship. All right. So in anything, when we talk about relationship, you have to be somewhere for a minute in order to develop a relationship. Now, if we're talking about just going down there, having your little fun, bound chicken, wow, wow, both places are kind of equal. But when we're talking about you want a girlfriend or a relationship past the club scene, all right, this is where they part ways. All right. So while you may go to the beaches and find nice Brazilian women and stuff like that, and you be like, oh, wow, I want to get with that, it is basically going to be temporary, and it's because the grass is always greener or looking for the next move. Basically, this is my experiences with the women in Brazil. Now, they have taken on in a way that the Colombia women haven't. Now, keep in mind, all women have games of manipulation, because that's who they are. We as men are supposed to figure out the manipulation and govern ourselves to clearly define what type of manipulation we're going to take and be aware of and not say nothing about, and what kind we won't take. All right? This is why it's important for the men to leave single mothers alone. Period. All right? That whole thing is no good. When you throw a father away, understand this. When you throw a father away, then that's a person that is no good to any other man. Now, here's the thing. When you decide you're not going to be held accountable for the type of person that you made father your child, then you are not worthy of any other man. Now, this is how we have to think of as men. All right? That's for the United States, where they have more of a choice, more so than when you leave and go to another country. But even when you go to another country, I wouldn't marry a woman with a child. Not marriage material. You get one without a child, and basically preferably a virgin. Now, when we talk about virgins, you got to go to Africa. There's 54 countries there, and many of the countries, especially in Muslim areas, make women who are wife material. All right, so now we come back to Brazil and Colombia. Brazilian women are seen because of who they are. They are very sexy women, all right? But there's a culture here where for long-term relationships, Colombian women beat them out. When you look in the favelas, the driving force behind a lot of the stuff is the same as in America. It's hard for children to see a way out when the women compete with the children for the things that are meant to go to the children. If y'all remember the video when I was just really yelling at the women in the middle of the favela because they were taking shirts out of my hand. You know, YouTube flagged that video and said something, all right, and I forgot what they said, but it didn't even make sense. Oh, some BW got mad because it shows that, and because it showed BWs in Brazil, the Brazilian BW, taking the stuff out of the hands of the children and snatching the shirts that were meant for children. They wanted them and they didn't even fit them, or they may have wanted, and so it was just crazy. All right, so where did they get that mentality? The Olympics changed the Brazilian women in a way that nothing else did, and this is what the men of Brazil say, and many of the women say this. The Olympics brought a lot of people from the West, and the West brought the Western ideology here and made things worse for the community. All right, made things worse for the mentality. Where at the time before the Olympics, the Brazilian women were on par with the Colombian women as far as, hey, yeah, go down and get one of these, and they're still beautiful. But now they come with Western problems. All right? And still, when you look at the community that's mostly melanated, the producers of the children are mainly only there's an excuse here. The favelas are the favelas because history dictated by the Caucasians that was in governance, that we will not give these people a leg to stand on, but we will allow weapons and drugs to permeate this community, and then we would have a reason to go in, take out some melanated people by saying we're looking for drugs and weapons. The same drugs and weapons the police have been giving them. At least that's alleged by the people of the community. This is why in this battle between the police and the banditos, it's just best to stay out of it. Because you don't know who the bad guy is and who the good guy is. But you know that the banditos are protecting the community. You know it's the favela that has no government resources in it. So you have to ask yourself why the police are there. Well, it's the way the favelas was made. No hospitals, no schools, no nothing, no government money. So when you see these buildups, they did that themselves. When you see how they get electricity, they did that themselves. Wi-Fi and all that stuff that some people have in their house, they figured out a way to do it themselves. You see what I'm saying? So if the guns and drugs and stuff come from the police, then it comes from the government, because the police is the military or the hostile arm of the government. Am I saying the police are bad? No. Am I saying some of them crooked? Yeah. But you don't know who. Am I saying that you need them? Yes, you need them. Right? But you need them because you're forced to need them because of the crookedness of the government. All right, so here's the other difference. In Palenque, they have no police. My camera lens. I was trying to move this out of the way. So in Palenque, they have no police, but they don't have this drug problem either, because it was the first free town. The culture is in Palenque is that of a free people. The culture of it right here that you're seeing is people who are still oppressed. And the culture on the beaches are people who have the ability to gain freedom, get money. You see what I mean? In a way that people that live in the favelas cannot. All right? There is a sense of entitlement between both sets of women, but it's different. It's a different thing when you don't give the Brazilian woman what she wants versus, or what she thinks she deserves, versus the Colombian women. And this is the other reason why I would choose the Colombian women over that. All right. Now, when we talk about the shapes and beauty and stuff, hey, I'm going to tell you all day long the Brazilian women as a group. Not saying and I am saying that the Colombian women are beautiful, but in the competition of this, as Afro men, they are more what Afro men prefer, the Brazilian women. But if we take a step back and just pay attention, all right, we know that the Colombian women are beautiful too. And I would choose, you put them up, I would choose the first one that liked me. They're both on that frame of mind of beauty. But here's the thing. The reason why I picked the Colombian women over the Brazilian women is that if they're going to be with you and stick with you, they stick with you. Period. For as long as you're there. All right. When they stick with you, all right, and you're a man, they follow your lead for as long as you're there. Oh, they got tricks and games to try to get a little more out of you and this, that, and the other. But for the most part, they follow your lead in a way that the Brazilian women don't. Why? Because the American women went there with feminism and Wonder Woman and effed that up. The reason why these are Brazilian women, and the reason why the American women went to Brazil and effed that up, because they cannot compete with this. In any sense of the word, when we talk about competing, those will get on a plane and fly to Brazil just to look at this on the beach. Because not only did the American women lose their way culturally, but physically, they don't measure up to any other woman in the world. They do not measure up to any other woman in the world, melanated or non-melanated. They let themselves go to the point that they have gone too far. Both physically, mentally, spiritually, and culturally. It's the reason why the American women twerk everywhere, in the streets, on cars, in restaurants, saying that that's all they have to offer, whereas everybody, all the rest of them, can turn to you and smile. Be careful of these smiles, though, because they'll lure you in with these smiles, and then you might end up with some issues. But I will say one more thing about the American women the Brazilian women and the Colombian women. In the temporary dating scene, hands down, bar none, when we talk about danger, the Colombian women, for those who prefer babysitters, to take that term from the flyboy way, for those who prefer babysitters, the Colombian women are going to be hands down 100 times more dangerous than the Brazilian women. Because the Colombian babysitters, or temporary women that you might meet out in the street and in the club, especially the club, have trips and games for you that will cost you your life. Now, when you meet a regular one in Colombia that's going to be your girlfriend, that's different. That's a whole different ball game. And that's what I would choose over the Brazilian girlfriend. But the babysitters, Brazilian women don't play that, in a sense. Quid pro quo. Period. Way safer. As a matter of fact, even the Brazilians' problem is their temporary mentality. But as far as safe, oh, they have light fingers, some of them. Stinky fingers. But as far as your safety, no. All right. Colombians, you have to worry about being drugged and then being found in the street naked with all your stuff gone. And they're doing this in a lot of places there. So you got to watch the very temporary relationship, or women that you get from a group, or women that you get that belong to somebody. All right. So here you have it. At the end of the day, there's that wall waiting on the BW. And that's why they're trying to get you afraid to travel. Because they're hitting that wall now full steam ahead. And they're hitting it much earlier, because we have figured out that in this modern era, it is a very, very bad and horrific idea and dangerous idea for any Afro man to get into a relationship with a woman who has children, especially because of statistically who she produced those children with. So this is their fear, that wall is hitting them way early in their 20s, because most by 25 will have at least one children, and probably from a felon. And it's not what the juice is not worth the squeeze, to quote my brother Dwight. Period. All right. So don't let fear stop you from traveling. It's about self-discipline for the men. And until the women take accountability and produce, well, they're done. Because most have children from some dude from prison. They're done. So our only option is to travel to Africa, South America. I wouldn't recommend Southeast Asia. Geopolitical problems there. Not in the quality of the woman. All right. So I prefer the Philippines, but geopolitically, they got issues. All right. So, brothers, y'all tell me what you think in the comment section about all of this. All right. And don't forget, my Cash App and PayPal me is also in the description box. If you want to help this channel do what we do in the communities. All right. But tell me what you think. With that said, I'm out.